This card don't read so good. Wake up. Best card in the set. What the hell is this? Best in show. All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome to the complete set review for Edge of Eternities. That's right, we're going to frickin' space, folks. Space. The one place not corrupted by capitalism, right, Ross? And we're going over every card in the entire set for constructed and limited, giving out all the awards you know and love. We did white, we did blue, we did black, we did red. Those are all going to be on YouTube. If you haven't seen them, go watch them, and please take a second, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't be shy on every video, all right? A ton of work goes into these. I record them all at once, so like over the course of 6 or 7 hours. A bunch of prep work also, so I really appreciate your support. I do them because you all like them, and the more you like them, the more I'll do them, all right? So, all right, let's rock and roll here with green and see where we go. Starting out with Atmospheric Greenhouse. We have a spacecraft here, 5 mana for a 5/4 potentially. When it enters, put a +1 counter on each creature you control, and then station 8 or more. It's a flying trample 5/4. This card is a bang. Really, really insane limited card. You play it, you pump the team. Now that you've pumped the team, it's much easier to station, make into a 5/4 flying trample. This is an absolute banger of a limited card. Good in any deck, as long as you're playing freaking creatures, you know? Really, really good stuff. So, great limited card. Not playable constructed, but a windmill slam first pick in limited. And play it and crush your opponents. Next up is Bioengineered Future. This is a 3 mana enchantment. When it enters, make a lander token. Now, a lander token is a 2 mana, is an artifact with 2 mana tap, sack, and search your library for a basic land. It's a Wayfarer's Bauble. This is the new token in the set. Going to be very, very important in green. So lander tokens are available in most of the colors, but in green and red specifically, the green-red limited theme is a landfall lander stuff. So more important in green and red than other colors. And so this EDV is basic lander token, and then says each creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each land that entered the battlefield under your control this turn. So kind of like landfall, you know, your next creature gets counters. So it's a pretty cool card. It's definitely a cool limited card as far as like pumping up all your teams or whatever and stuff. But it is kind of a weird card, right? You play this on turn 3, and you have a lander token, and then you like play a land next turn and play a 4-drop. It gets a counter, I guess. But like, it's kind of weird and finicky. I don't think this is a constructed card, unless there's some sort of like weird combo with it or something like that. But yeah, feels weird, feels finicky. It's not really a ramp spell. It's not really a great like pump spell. I don't know. It's a really weird card. If you have some sort of like, you know, crazy counter synergies or some I don't know, hardened scales effect or whatever, may be cool, but you know, I don't know. It feels weird to like try and play this to buff your next creature up when you're wasting a turn playing this. So I don't know. I'm not super high on this card. It doesn't make a fun limited card. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Biosynthetic Burst, 2 mana for an instant. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains reach, trample, and indestructible until end of turn. Also untap it. Kind of a classic limited combat trick, although important to note that the green-white mechanic in the set in limited is all about +1/+1 counters. So there's some extra synergy to go along with the counter you're giving here beyond what you see at face value. This is honestly kind of a fine trick. I like that it gets trample and indestructible as well as the buff. So this is also an effect that can counter a removal spell. It can trample over a chump blocker as well as being a combat trick, which is kind of cool. And untapping it is somewhat relevant sort of as well. But yeah, this card's okay. Not like super exciting, but you know, a playable limited combat trick. Not too much more. Kind of is what it is. 2 mana is a lot more than 1. No hexproof. It's just okay. Blooming Stinger. 2 mana for a 2/2 Death Touch. Whenever it enters, a creature gains Death Touch on a turn. I'm a big fan of these cards in limited, honestly. The Death Touchers that can do a little more than that are great. They attack well, they block well. You know, it's just a reasonable card. Nothing crazy. Not as good as the card from Aether Drift that would give another attacker Death Touch. That card was really nice. But still a fine card. Blocks well. It's a good limited card. Brood Guard Elite. green X for an insect knight. It enters with X plus plus counters on it, and then whenever it leaves the battlefield, put its counters on a creature you control. So it's modular, basically, for all you boomers out there. Ross is modular, that's for sure. And it's got green X warp. So warp is a mechanic where you play the creature, kind of like evoke and adventure at the same time. You play it, it enters, it does whatever it does. It stays there till the end of turn, and then goes into the adventure zone, and you can cast it for full cost later. So this is a pretty cool card. This is kind of like a sorcery that adds counters at the end of turn, and then allows you to also play the elite later as well. Pretty cool in counter decks. It's a little clunky. You know, we're looking at like a 4-mana 2/2 here, but there's a lot of upside too in the modular stuff as well. So I think this is an okay limited card. Definitely an archetype kind of card. Not extremely powerful on rate, but pretty cool. Close Encounter. 2 mana for an instant. There's no cost to cast a spell, choose a creature you control, or a warped creature card you own in exile. And this deals damage equal to the power of a chosen creature or card to a creature. So this is just a bite that can also bite off your warped cards, noting that if you do that, there is no downside to getting blown out by our removal spell, which is pretty nice, honestly. That puts us a little closer in range to like a green Doomblade, if there are some big warp thing you have there. So that's pretty cool. But otherwise, just a bite, which is a good limited card. Nothing more than that. Diplomatic Relations.
That's it. I'm going to clown college.
So what's going on here? Why is my best in show for green this weird green 3-mana common? Because this card is probably misprinted. Diplomatic Relations is a 3-mana instant. It gives a target creature +1/+0 and vigilance till end of turn. And then it deals damage equal to its power to target creature and opponent controls. This is missing a really, really important line of text where it says you can only target your own creature and have it bite their creature. So this is essentially just a green murder. This is essentially, oh, you have a 4/4 in play? Okay, I'm gonna give it +1/+1, give it vigilance, and then make it deal damage to itself.
You know, I just do things.
Yeah, so there's already talk that this is a misprint, and this might end up being eroded, because this is a heinous color pie break. It's not like the end of the world. This card doesn't break magic, you know? I think if this card costs 2, it would actually be like okay, we can't actually give green Doomblade, you know? So a green murder is not like the craziest thing of all time, but it is still clearly an effect that green should not have like this. This is not what this card is intended to do. I think this is definitely a misprint. The question is, how do they want to handle it? Are they going to leave it, let the ball play where it lies? It's not like the most devastating thing of all time. It probably isn't that good and constructed, you know, as a green murder. In limited, it's going to be very good, but like, you know, it's a common in limited. What's the end of the world? Or are they going to actually errata it, as they have done in the past? There is precedent for this, where occasionally they have left a word off a card, and they will errata the card. Examples I can think of are like dense foliage or something like that. It was, if I can find it, it's flash foliage. This is a card actually that I played in this Pro Tour. This was Pro Tour Prague 2006, and it was a Pro Tour. It was a full draft Pro Tour, full block original Ravnica, and Dissension had literally just come out. And this card was eroded at the player meeting of the Pro Tour to be must play this before blockers. So this is put a sapling in play, blocking a creature, attacking you, draw a card. As is worded, you can play it in the end of combat step as a blocker, and then damage has already been dealt, so you get to keep the 1/1. So like, you could treat it like, it's not like broken, but it shouldn't work like that. It's not supposed to work. So foliage. There's also some card that like didn't have some tap thing on or whatever. Hostage Taker. Hostage Taker is supposed to have like a another, so you can't target itself kind of thing. So it's not without precedent that this card will be eroded. But yeah, so pretty funny. You know,
I bet you weren't expecting that one, guy.
the old green murder. They would never ban, like the options are errata it or just deal with it. They're never, this card's not too good. They're not going to ban it, whatever, but it's pretty funny. So I want to have a little fun with it. If this card ends up being errated, it is still a reasonable, if unexciting, limited card. If it does not get errated, this is probably the best green common. It's just a green murder for the most part, which is great. So, and then, you know, it does some weird things to Magic if green has a murder, and like maybe Pauper or Standard. But yeah, there you go. So, it's hard to evaluate 'cause I don't know what this card actually does right now. The text in the box might not be the right text, but we're gonna move on to the next card here. It's pretty fun. Drix Fatemaker. 4 mana for a 3/2. This is a Drix Wizard common. When it ETBs, put a counter on target creature, and then each creature with a counter on it has trample, and it also has warp. So pretty cool. Face value, this is a 4/3 trample for 4, which is fine. Also has a counter on it. Again, counters are a big deal in the green-white archetype in drafts, where some cards care about you having counters. And then you can warp this thing, just 2 mana, add a counter, and then trample for a turn, and then put it in the warp zone. Also, you can crew while you're warping too. So this is a pretty cool common. This is a solid common for the counter deck. Yeah, a lot of value here on both sides of the ball, I think, and just a good little card. Next up is Edge Rover, and Veteran Explorer folks, eat your heart out. I guess
Pointless nostalgia.
not that close. Whatever. 1 green for a 2/2 reach artifact creature, but when it dies, each player makes a lander token. So it's hard to even say, like, is that big of a drawback? Because you get 1 too. And it's a 2/2 reach for 1. It's also an artifact, which matters for, like, you know, synergy stuff. So this card's pretty sweet. You know, I'm not sure exactly what deck would want this card. You know, 1/1 or a 2/2 for 1 is not exactly above the bar these days when it comes to the power creep of Magic's creatures. You know, Isamaru, Hound of Conda was a long time ago. Sorry, Karn. But this card's cool. You know, if for some sort of artifact aggro deck or something like that. Cool card. Pretty fun. Cool and limited because you're probably in limited. You'll care more about the token than your opponent does. But yeah, cool card. Pretty sweet design. Kind of fun to see what it does. Next up is Emudian Terrabotanist and Kazu Necropot. Eat your heart out. 2 mana for a 2/3 landfall ETB draw card. Sorry. Gain 1 life. This card's really good. I mean, the Necropot, which is the same card, but it was a 1/3 instead of a 2/3, saw some fringe play. And this is a pretty sick sideboard card if you're a ramp deck, you know. You play it on turn 2, it can block stuff, and then you just play a ramp spell. You know, play an Overlord, play a land, gain a life. Play an Overlord, gain a life. Attack with the Overlord, gain a life. You know, whatever. Lumberg Warrag can gain a life. So, not an overtly powerful card or anything like that. Might not be good enough on pure rate. But if you're playing a green ramp deck and you want a card against red decks, you know, this card does that thing. And, like we were saying in the red section, if red ends up being more of a classic red burn spell, lava spike kind of deck than a creature-heavy combat trick double strike deck, these sort of small ball life gain effects end up being good again. Whereas this card is horrendous against mice and monstrous rage. It's pretty good against, you know, lava spike, you know, Jackal Pup kind of stuff. So cool card, just pretty above rate. Great limited card. Constructed, you know, I think it's a playable sideboard card in certain scenarios, but I just like it. I just think it's neat. Use Social Engineering. 5 mana for an enchantment. It's got landfall, make a robot. So kind of similar to the Chocobo Palace.
Where'd you get that bird, Internet?
It's got warp for 2. Pretty cool use of warp, where you warp this thing and just play a land. Now you got 2/2. Awesome. And then you can cast the full engineering later. Cool limited card. You know, one of those cards where it is certainly slow in limited, but if you are playing a longer game, you can set up for it. This is a pretty powerful card. We kind of like just had this card the last set. It's not much more to say than that, but it's cool. Famished World Sire.
Good lord. Gigantism.
8 mana for a 0/0, ward 3. It has Devour Land, 3. So Devour means that when you play this, you can sacrifice a number of the type, and you get a multiple of plus encounters equal to the things you sacrifice and the number there. So sack 1 lands, 3/3. Sack 2 lands, 6/6, etc., etc. When it enters, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is this creature's power. Put any number of land cards from among them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So, in theory, if your deck is 1/3 lands, and every land you sacrifice, you get to look at 3 cards, every land you sack will produce another land, in theory. So, if you were to sacrifice all 8 lands for casting this, you look at the top 8 times 3 of your deck, and you will, in theory, get around 8 lands. Boom, million landfall triggers. That's pretty cool. It's also really big. So, that being said, it is an 8 mana or an 8 mana card, which is a thing. When it enters, look at the top 8 card library. Yeah, you can't kill it response to stop the trigger. It'll look at last information. It actually enters with the counters on it. So it also has Ward 3, which is cool too. So kind of a cool card. I don't know what deck exactly would want this effect. You know, there are some landfall things going on. This is a really, really big one. But it's pretty powerful. It's kind of cool. So yeah, that's cool. Cool card. Probably more for commander play, given that like you want that excessive amount of like triggers. But yeah, cool stuff. Cool card. In limited, this card seems playable because they're, again, red-green's all about ramping and landfall. And this is just like ramp into it and then super landfall. But don't deck yourself kind of thing too. So, yeah, cool card. Next up is Frenzied Baloth, a card that's going to get an award. What award is it going to get?
It's a trap!
Trap card! Frenzied Baloth, green for a 3/2, can't be countered, trample, haste, creature spells you control can't be countered, combat damage can't be prevented. That's a lot of abilities, right? Most of those abilities just don't matter, all right? This is effectively just a 3/2 trample haste for 2. It's hard to cast. Can't be countered, irrelevant most of the time. Creature spells can't be countered, irrelevant, they'll just kill it. Combat damage can't be prevented, mostly irrelevant. So what you have here is essentially a 3/2 trample haste for green, which is almost strictly worse than Wildfire Wickerfolk, which is that card at face value, and it has even more than that when you are Delirium. So this card doesn't really do anything, you know, like it's just not, you know, you think of a card like Carnage Tyrant or some other big uncounterable threat that's going to be your big breaker against control decks. Those control decks don't exist anymore. There is no mono blue draw go counter all your spells deck. You know, like it's just like this doesn't exist anymore. You know, decks might play a few counter spells here or there, and they're playing a bunch more removal spells than they are counter spells. So you play this and they just doomblade it, move on with their life, you know? So not saying this card isn't playable. If there is some sort of like mono green stompy deck, then yeah, this card will see play in that deck because a 3/2 haste for 2 is good enough, you know? But it's not like particularly exciting or powerful. It's just a card. It dies to Burst Lightning, it dies to, Cut Down's gone, but you know, it dies to stab, you know, dies to removal spells, you block it with 2/2, like whatever. It's just a creature, doesn't matter that much, you know? If they need to deal with it, they will. A lot of time they can just ignore it. It's pretty unexciting. So, also playing green in this current standard format, it's pretty rough too. So yeah, if the One Ring was in standard, then yeah, maybe we could use the Questing Beast effect on this to remove the One Ring stuff. But that's also a very, very limited ability. So it's got 5 abilities, only 2 of them are relevant, and the sizing is not big enough. This card is just not that exciting. And then limited, honestly, pretty similar. This is just an okay limited card. You know, like, yeah, it's on rate. If you can cast it, you'll play it. But, like, it's not very exciting. You know, it's just 3/2 haste for 2. So yeah. So, Frenzied Baloth. There's a trap card in green. Again, not unplayable, but very, very, you know, borderline whatever. not some sort of like, oh my god, I got a Frenzy Bailoff. Moving on to Fungal Colossus. 7 mana for a 5/5. This spell costs X less to cast, where X is the number of differently named lands you control. That's kind of a cool ability, honestly. This is like affinity for different land names. I think if this card was a little better, it might actually have a chance to get constructed, because most decks do play a huge amount of different types of lands. But vanilla 5/5 is not that exciting. You know, up the beanstalk. Where art thou? But yeah, this card's cool. You know, in limited, it wouldn't be too hard to make this card cost, you know, whatever, 3 or 4 mana. It's important to note that in limited, there are no common dual lands. So in most formats, this would be in your multicolor green deck, be like a 2 mana 5/5, but not in this format. There's a lot of basics and a lot of lander token stuff. But yeah, this is a pretty cool card. I feel like it's the wrong time for this card, unfortunately, where it just would be a lot better in different sets, but it's cool. It's a cool card. If you are just red-green playing Mountains and Forests, this is a 5 mana 5/5. So you could do worse than that for sure. But cool card. Kind of sad it's not in the right home, but yeah. Galactic Wayfarer. 3 mana for a 3/3. When it enters, make a lander token. Folks, it's real simple. All right. We got a Bombin Common. 3/3 for 3. ED make a token. One of those just like, yep, that's it. You know, there's a heuristic. You play a lot of limited. You just know, what cards are good, and this card's great. 3/3 for 3 with upside. Lander token. It can fix your mana. It can ramp. It can trigger landfall. It's an artifact sacrifice. Card's just great. Very simple card. Not much more to say. Card's awesome. Rectangle theory, etc., etc. Playable constructed, probably not, but good limited card. Bombin Common. Galactic Wayfarer. Next up is Gene Pollinator, and I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here. I'm going to call Gene Pollinator my sleeper card for green. I do think that green is pretty bad in this set, honestly, so the awards for green were by far the most difficult. But this card's kind of nice. So we've had this sort of card before. The 1 mana 1/2, tap and untapped thing to make a mana of any color. Typically, though, it is tap and untap creature you control to make a mana of any color. Okay? And this can tap anything. A lander token, a food token, a clue, a whatever else it might be. A card, you know? So that is a lot better than tapping a creature. Because these, random tokens just sitting around are, easier to use. And then compound that with the fact that this is an artifact. And most random crappy tokens you have floating around are artifacts as well. Now you're leaning into like, oh, maybe there's some sort of like cool green artifacty ramp something, deck. That's pretty sweet as well. So I don't know exactly what this card wants to do or where it wants to go, but I do know that it's a pretty flexible card with a lot of cool synergy possibilities. That's kind of exciting, honestly. It's kind of cool. So I don't know. I'm calling it my sleeper card. I'm just feeling the vibes. I'm just feeling the vibes.
You gotta have mojo,
Just,
baby.
You gotta feel what you feel, and you gotta just share that with other folks. Magda, it's great, yeah. But yeah, this is nice. I like this card. So sleeper card. I think there's a decent chance this card does actual nothing anywhere, but I also think there's a chance this card does some cool stuff too. So Bugs of Paradise. I guess, and in limited, it's okay. Not the most exciting in limited. It's, a little low powered. Next up is Germinating Worm. 5 mana for a 5/5. When it enters, gain 2 life, and you can warp it for 2. Card's great. So this card does 2 cool things. One, it's just fine. Like a 5/5 gain 2 for 5 is a good limited card. But you can warp it, which gains 2 more life also. But don't forget there's that uncommon that wants to bite for power in warp. So that plays well with that card. And it's a really high number for a low warp cost for all your crew costs too. So this card is a lot more than it might look like at face value. And even on face value, it's pretty good too. This is a good draft common. Pretty big fan of this card. Love it. Glacier Godmaw. Leviathan. Is that the Millennium Falcon there, right? It's kind of cool. 7 mana for a 6/6 trample. When it enters, make a lander token. Now that seems weird, right? We have a 7 drop, it's going to ramp. But again, red green limited is more about landfall than actually ramping. It's about both. So, and the landfall here is creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance and haste on a turn. So if you can play this thing and then play a land after it, you get haste too. That's pretty sick. So this is an awesome top end card for your red green and like blue green rampy decks, which is kind of cool and limited. Pretty powerful card, great game ender. It's a good draft card. Harmonious Grove Strider. 5 mana for a star, ward 2. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. Just another 5/5 for 5, which is good for limited. There's a lot of these in this set. But yeah, scales up, has ward 2. It's a good draft card. Hemosymbic Might. 1 mana for a 1/1 Might. Whenever it becomes tapped, another creature you control gets +X on the turn, where X is this creature's powers. This is a pretty clear green-white card, which has all the +1/+1 counter stuff. You can buff this thing up and then tap it to buff your other things up. You can attack with it, or you can crew stuff with it, which is kind of cool. And then when you are crewing spaceships, this kind of doubles, right? So you get to crew, pump another thing, and then use that thing to crew for more, which is kind of nice. So kind of a cool card, plays well in the multiples. Probably not good enough for constructed, although not like outside their own possibility, you know, be able to pump this thing up and do the thing. But this is a cool limited card. You got to work with it. This card's got to have some synergy going on. Got to have some spaceship, there's some pump spell or whatever, pump things. But this card's cool. I like it. Pretty fun little piece. Kind of fun card to think about. It's cool. Ice Cave Crasher. 4 mana for a 4/4 trample. Landfall, +1/+0. Good draft card. You know, not much more to say. Just good body, 4/4 for 4, 2 upsides. Good draft card. Ice Tail Explorer. 4 mana for a 2/4. This is an insect scout. It says you may play an extra land each turn, and you may play lands from your graveyard. So it's exploration and Crucible of Worlds. It has landfall, Millicard. I think this card is overrated. I think that even though Crucible of Worlds and Exploration are both pretty powerful effects, putting both of them together on a 2/4 4-mana creature is not the most exciting place to put that. Strip Mine is on the bonus sheet. So someone somewhere is going to get Strip Mine locked from Mr. Limited. But yeah, for 4 mana, a 2/4 is just not that exciting. So I think this is more of a casual commander card. It's a good limited card, you know, being able to keep playing lands from your graveyard and landfall and stuff like that. But for constructive, this card is just too small and too clunky, and not really feeling it. So I still explore, not great, not a full on trap card, but Intrepid Tenderfoot. 2 mana for a 2/2 insect citizen. 3 mana, put a counter on this at sorcery speed. This card makes my old man limited brain explode. Like, this card is just a good 2-drop. Like, 3 mana to activate? Like, that's a fine mana stake as the game goes on. Usually this card, like, back in the day, was like 2/2 for 2, 8 mana, +5/+5. You know, like, some sort of like, if you're in the super late game and you're flooded, here's some flood insurance. It's just like, on curve, you can make it a 3/3 if you have a 3-drop. Like, and do counter synergy stuff too. So it's not like insanely good or anything like that, but it's just like surprising to my old man brain. So yeah, good draft card if you're doing the +1/+1 counter stuff. You know, perfectly serviceable 2-drop. Not super exciting, but just funny how much Magic has evolved. Larval Scoutlander. 3 mana spaceship. ATP, sacrifice a land or a lander. If you do, search your library for 2 basic lands, put them in the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. And then 7 or more station, it's a 3/3 flyer. This card's pretty cool. So this is kind of similar to your average like Harrow effect, right? Sack a land, get 2 lands. Being able to sacrifice a lander token though, and not needing to spend 2 for the lander is kind of sweet actually. So now you're turning your lander into 2 lands without having to pay for it. That's pretty cool, you know? So kind of a cool ramp effect. Really good with landfall stuff. I think this card could see an outside shot in constructed if there's some good lander token cards to kind of utilize that as like a double ramp. Maybe not, but you know, Harrow and Harrow-esque cards have seen play before, and there is, you know, Tifa landfall and standard whatever and stuff like that too. So this is kind of cool. It's kind of a cool little card. Good limited card. Fringe playable constructed card. Lash Whip Predator. 6 mana for a 5/7. Big booty. Costs 2 less to cast. Your opponent has 3 more creatures and has reach. Great limited card. You know, even at 6 mana, this is still a pretty good limited card. But good chance it'll cost 4. And that's really good. It's just freaking huge. So, good draft card. The Loading Zone. 4 mana for an enchantment. If one or more counters be put on a creature, spacecraft, or planet you control, twice that many of each of these kinds of counters are put on it instead. So we have Doubling Season, but not for Planeswalkers. Sorry, Commander players. And it also has Warp for 1 green. So you can pay 1 green, temporarily put this in, play a counter card, add double counters, and then cast this card for full value later. Kind of cool, honestly. This is a pretty fun use of the Warp mechanic. These cards are always very clunky. So having a non-clunky buyout, that doesn't mean you have to like throw the card away. It's kind of cool. So I don't think this card is particularly great, but it's cool. It's a pretty fun little design. It's definitely not hard in scales, but it's cool. And for limited, I think if you're playing counters, like this card could definitely do it. Melt Strider Eulogist. 3 mana for a 3/3. Whenever a creature you control dies with a counter on it, draw a card. Phenomenal limited card. Just bonkers limited card, super high floor, super high ceiling, great draft card. Melt Strider's Gear, 1 green, artifact equipment. When you play it, it auto equips, +2/+1 in reach, and equip for 5. So no flash. It's just a play it, equip it, attack. Does not seem very good, but sure. I mean, if you're super aggressive, maybe, but this card seems pretty bad. Sure. Melt Strider's Resolve. 1 green enchantment aura. Enchanted creature you control, when it enters, enchanted creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls, and it gets +1/+0/+2 and can't be blocked with 1 creature. This is a good card. The combination of a fight with extra toughness and the extra toughness plus the can't be blocked by more than 1 creature ability is all things that green wants to do. Puts it a 5/5. Now it's a 5/7. Really hard to block. Kills a creature. Pretty cheap. It's an aura. Because he playing like Boggles decks. This is like the cheapest fight you've ever seen on an aura before, right? There have been like this effect at 2 mana before. I have seen play in aura decks, but at 1 mana, Saram, Light Paws, whatever. This card will definitely see play in some aura deck in Pioneer or whatever. But yeah, cool card. Cool card for sure. Fringe constructed card. Good limited card. Might Form Harmonizer. 4 mana for a 4/4. Landfall. Double the power of target creature you control and has Warp for 3. Now the Warp 3 is like, not that much cheaper than 4. There is some stuff happening like this in Standard with Tifa, whatever. So you could maybe, if you Tifa on 2, something on 3, turn 4, warp this, play a fetch land, double, sure. But this just seems like it's too clunky to be super exciting in that regard. That being said, doubling power is pretty ridiculous. So, pretty powerful effect. I feel like this might end up in like a more normal place than like an all-in landfall deck, but great limited card, probably not that ever constructed. Ouroborid. 4 mana for a 1/3. Beginning combat on your turn, put X+1 counters on each creature you control or X's power. I mean, bonkers limited card, right? Like, even by itself, without any augmentation, just like pump the whole team by 1 every turn is pretty good. But if you're in the space of adding power to this, like, you start to go pretty wild. Again, kind of commandery, kind of more a limited card, not really a constructed card, but yeah, it's a cool card. Cool limited card, be fun to draft. Oh, it adds power to itself also. I apologize. I thought it was each other creature. Oh, so sure. Then it pumps itself, sure. So it's exponentially scaling. Sure. Yeah. I mean, super high ceiling, pretty low floor, just the usual stuff. The kind of card you're going to lose to a limited, be pretty sad about. Pull Through the Weft. 5 mana for a sorcery. Return 2 target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Then return 2 target land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. I like this card a lot. I don't think it's very good. This sort of 5 mana return 2 cards card is often just terrible. It's just so slow and it requires so much setup. But Getting an explosive vegetation out of this card also is pretty awesome because now you have the extra mana needed to cast the cards you got. And you get landfall triggers and mana fixing and all sorts of stuff too. So that's pretty cool. That being said, it does require a really full graveyard to work. You'd actually have the lands and the cards in your graveyard. But yeah, this is kind of cool. And then it is also has some combo potential. Lotus Field, Primeval Titan, whatever weird graveyard combo stuff when you're making a bunch of green mana. Could be a cool thing. Limited, I guess it's a fringe constructed card, and then a limited card for only the most all-in of graveyard decks. Sammy's Curiosity. 1 green, gain 2 life, make a Lantern token. They don't give us rampant growth anymore, but this is pretty close if you are playing a ton of untapped green sources. 2 life rampant growth is not bad. Makes a Lantern token. It's kind of like Wayfarer's Bauble, If there's a ramp deck in Standard that wants to ramp on 2, we already have Into the Core, which is just rampant growth for forests. This kind of competes with that also, but it's cool. It's a good limited card too. I'm a fan. Outside shot constructed. Siege Ship Agrarian, 4 for a 3/3. Whenever it becomes tapped, make a Lantern token. As landfall, put a counter on this creature. Great limited card. Just like make some land drops, make it bigger, make some tokens, self-perpetuating, grows, it scales. It checks all the boxes limited, except for blocks well of a turn you cast it. But you can also play as a 5-drop and make it a 4/4, which is kind of cool too. So, cool card, good limited card, looks pretty fun. Siege Ship Impact, 2 mana for an instant. Short target artifact or enchantment, its mana value is 2 or less, make a Lantern token. I mean, bonkers. Like, if you're looking for a disenchant, this is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Getting value off your disenchant is so good. It's not like quite draw card, but like that's really nice. So I don't know what every disenchant variant looks like in Standard right now, but this is a very good one, and it's a great limited card too, because there's plenty of artifacts and enchantments to kill. So good card. Shattered Wings, 3 mana for a common, destroy an artifact, enchantment, creature, flying, Surveil 1. Probably a sideboard card. Wouldn't be embarrassing to play one in your main deck. Broken Wings was a main deckable card in Aether Drift, so probably close to playable in the main deck in drafts. Otherwise, just whatever. Sky Stinger, the meta for a 3/3 reach. Block a flyer, and it gets +5/+up. This is your anti-spaceship card. It's fine. There really is no floor on cards these days. Like, every card is well statted. This card probably should be like a 2/3 or a 1/3. But like they just want every card to be playable, so it's a 3/3. So if this card's in your draft deck, it's not that embarrassing, but whatever. Sedge Class Siege Ship, 3 mana for a 4/5. It does nothing by itself. You must station it to do anything. When you do station it, it's 7 or more, 4/5 flyer, and then it puts in a card for free. Not quite Kona. Y'all know me, I love Kona. This is not quite Kona. So, yeah, this card asks a bit too much of you, I think, to be that exciting. But, yeah. And then limited, 4/5 flyer is, I guess, okay in limited, but not very exciting. So, pretty sneaky card. It works with Kona like literally every other card in the set does, as well as a bunch of other cards, too. So, there are many, many better ways to tap your Kona than this thing. Tapestry Warden, 4 mana for a 3/4 Vigilance, Robot Soldier. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power assigns combat damage for its toughness. Each creature you control with toughness greater than its power stations permanents for toughness rather than power. Okay. I mean, so it's basically just a 4/4 that crews for 4 and then has some upside with your big-butted creatures. Sure. Kind of a weird card in this set, right? Like, doesn't really feel mechanically cohesive with the other cards in the set, but it's not a bad card. It's just a fine limited card, I suppose. Terra Symbiosis, the metaphor and enchantment. Have you put 1 or more counters on a creature you control, you may draw that many cards, but only once a turn. This is a pretty fun build around the kind of card that's going to be really, really good in the right deck and limited. But in constructed, this card needed to cost 2 or 1 to be playable, I think. At 3 mana, you are taking too much of an important turn off. to play this card, and then you're like, you waste a turn, you kind of fall behind and stuff. Drawing cards is great. And the fact that you can draw multiple cards is pretty cool too. But I don't know. There are creatures that just like enter with counters, where it's like a 0/0 and has 4 counters or something like that. That's kind of cool too. So there's certainly a lot of upside here, but I'm concerned that the upfront cost is just too high. In fact, it's pretty powerful though. It's a fun card. It's a cool card for sure. Thoughtbringer. The meta for a 4/2 ETB or die surveil 1. I adore this card. If you know me, you know I love Wari Thespian, which is a 2-mana 3/1 that did the exact same text. Making it a 3-drop as a 4/2, still great. I'm a big fan of 4/2s in limited because when your opponent stumbles, they apply a ton of pressure, but they also block very well too. So you can block with it on turn 3, but it can also trade up on blocks. Or it might block a 4 or 5 drop and still trade. And then getting these random surveils is like also awesome on the way in and out. It fixes your draws. It's an accrue really well. Not a high pick by any means, but a card I'm just like very happy to have in my draft deck. So to recap, our best in show is Diplomatic Relations. We'll figure out if we're going to errata that one or not. Our sleeper card is Gene Pollinator. Our trap card is Frenzied Bailoff. And our Bombin Common is Galactic Wayfarer. So that's green. Like, comment, subscribe, support the content. I love you all. Yeah, we got multicolor coming next.